Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday, and you already know what time it is. In a few moments, I'll be sharing my thoughts and feelings on episode 4 of Married at First Sight Boston. Now of course, we're 4 episodes in, and we already know that the season is going to be on some foolishness. So for the purposes of this review, I'm going to talk about each couple one at a time, instead of recapping the entire episode in chronological order. I will also say that if you haven't seen the episode yet and you plan to do so, then you can skip the first 20 minutes of the episode because it's literally filled with recycled footage and commercials. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. The first couple I want to talk about is Michael and Jasmina. The two of them wake up after their wedding night and admit that they were so tired from the wedding that they went to sleep shortly after getting into bed. While they are up, they receive their breakfast of champions, which consists of dry pastries and jet black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Jasmina and Michael make small talk while feasting on their handcrafted culinary creations. After breakfast, Jasmina goes to meet Michael's sisters. The sisters ask Jasmina about her night, and she tells them that she had a good night. Jasmina also talks about her dress and how she was freaked out before the wedding. Michael's sisters ask Jasmina if she and Michael consummated their marriage, and Jasmina says no, but I don't take Jasmina to be the type that would openly tell the world when she's getting her buns cracked. Jasmina then asks Michael's sisters about Michael's temperament, and they tell Jasmina that Michael always assumes the worst of every situation, and that creates a red flag for Jasmina. Jasmina also drops a bombshell, which is that all of her relationships have been long distance, meaning that she's never had a relationship with somebody that lived in the same state. And that could also be a red flag for Michael's sisters. Michael then meets up with Jasmina's family, and Jasmina's stepmother shares that she feels more comfortable in the process. The stepmother asks Michael if he ever had any role models for what marriage should look like, and in my opinion, Michael was a little too honest in his response, because I could tell that the stepmother was judging him while respecting his honesty. The stepmother lets it be known in no uncertain terms that she just doesn't trust Michael, which is a little disappointing. Michael's sisters have welcomed Jasmina in with open arms, while Jasmina's family is keeping Michael at an arm's distance. We then go to Mark and Lindsey. They wake up together, and I was highly surprised that Lindsey was cuddled up with Mark. They have breakfast and engage in deep conversation with one another, and what I like about this particular scene is that Lindsey is pretty manageable and acting pretty normal. Maybe it was that goat milk and Bermuda grass smoothie that she was drinking. But after breakfast, Lindsey meets up with Mark's friends, and this meeting was more of a meeting between friends than an interrogation or a judgment session. Lindsey has nothing but positive things to say about Mark, and she is also dialed down during this time with Mark's friends. The friends give Lindsey some advice on how she could deal with Mark's mother, and the friends seem to be very accepting of her. Mark then meets with Lindsey's friends and her father. They present him with a Lindsey survival kit, which is filled with snacks, as well as an automated no-voice button gadget. Lindsey's father reminds Mark that Lindsey has a reckless mouth and he needs to be prepared for it. Mark's eyes get very wide. Steve and Noy are up next, and when they wake up, they appear to be very comfortable around each other. They snack on orange juice and granola bars for breakfast, and I know I'm not the only one asking this, but where's the bacon, eggs, sausage, and pancakes? The breakfast that they're feeding these cast members is worse than what you will get at a 2-star hotel. But I digress. Noy meets with Steve's parents, and they seem to have good chemistry with one another. Noy becomes emotional when remembering how Steve agreed to wear the traditional garb during the wedding reception. The parents talk to Noy about Steve's unemployment status. The father describes Steve as a vagabond, which is definitely not a good look if you're a person who likes routine and structure. Noy has a lot of hopes and dreams for Steve to get it together. Noy also shares that she would be devastated if things didn't work out between her and Steve. We then get to see Steve meeting Noy's family, and Noy's brother Michael, the guy who was interrogating Steve on whether he was going to give Noy that pickle tuckle on their honeymoon, is now dressed as a woman and calls herself Sriracha. Sriracha goes into part 2 of the interrogation, and Steve seems to be taking it in stride. Steve is asked questions about having kids and being financially responsible for the future kids, but Noy's family still seems hung up on him not having a job. We then go to Katina and Elijah. Elijah seems very happy that his wife smells good and doesn't have stinky breath, which is a little silly. They talk about Elijah's time when he was Isaac and he was tagging everything but third base. Katina then lets Olajuwon know that her friends would describe her as a party girl. Olajuwon meets up with Katina's friends. The bold friend from last episode questions Olajuwon on whether he and Katina had consummated their marriage, and Olajuwon admits that they did not, but they have kissed. Katina's friends ask Olajuwon what he wants out of the process, and the male friend feels that Olajuwon is full of it, and Olajuwon encourages all of Katina's friends to call him out if they feel that he is not up for the task with Katina. Katina meets with Olajuwon's mother. They talk about Olajuwon's past, and the mother believes that Olajuwon is going into the process wanting a wife. The mother gives Katina a gift, claiming that she's turning over her role as his biggest cheerleader to Katina. We then get to Chris and Alyssa, and they're shown giving separate interviews. Alyssa shares that she's disappointed in the process. Chris shares that while the cameras were off, Alyssa sat down with him and told him that they didn't vibe. Alyssa and Chris meet up the day after the wedding, and Chris feels that Alyssa has checked out completely. Alyssa dances around the real reason why she's not attracted to Chris, and Chris is no idiot, but he plays along. Chris wants to know up front if Alyssa is trying to go forward in the process, but Alyssa continues to dance around the issue, claiming that she goes at a slow pace with what she does, and I gotta applaud Chris for showing patience during this scene, because Alyssa is giving very different answers to the production during her interviews versus what she's telling Chris face to face. Chris meets with Alyssa's mother and friend for lunch. They talk to him about his night, and Chris tells them exactly what happened. The mother gives Chris words of encouragement, while the friend describes Alyssa as being very particular of guys. Alyssa's mother believes that Alyssa needs somebody like Chris, and is very hopeful for them. Alyssa then meets with Chris's friends and family. During Alyssa's production interview, we learn that Alyssa doesn't feel comfortable telling Chris's family how she treated him during their wedding night. Alyssa instead spends his time with Chris's family getting information on Chris that she could use to justify her breaking up with him. Now, after all the couples meet with their partners, friends, and family, we learn that the couples will be going to Puerto Rico for their honeymoon. And I wonder what Mirla from Married at First Sight Houston would have to say about that. All the couples seem to be very excited about the trip, but we then get to Chris and Alyssa. Chris and Alyssa reconvene to talk about going on their honeymoon to Puerto Rico. Alyssa essentially shares that she wants to go on the vacation and she wants to meet the other couples. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Alyssa's one of the most passive-aggressive participants in the show's history. Chris senses this, and it sucks how Alyssa is treating him. But once everybody's in Puerto Rico, there's a big blow-up between Olajuwon and Lindsey on whether they will speak English or Spanish while on the honeymoon. Mark and Lindsey take a separate bus to their destination, and we learn that Looney Lindsey's back in full attack on the honeymoon. Lindsey had a scene where she was talking about the incident between her and Olajuwon, and Lindsey seems grateful that Mark was by her side. Alyssa is treating Chris like a bill collector as all the couples are out hanging together. The other couples notice the awkwardness between Chris and Alyssa. The group, minus Lindsey and Mark, are enjoying drinks outside, and Mark joins the group. Mark apologizes on behalf of Lindsey, and Mark shows himself to be the true peacemaker. Olajuwon is pretty forgiving, but Katina is not so much. During Michael and Jasmina's one-on-one, they have what appears to be the start of many disagreements down the line. They get into a discussion about conflict within the group and ways to handle it, and during this discussion, Michael shows himself to be someone who sees the situation for what it is, while Jasmina shows herself to be someone who lives in the moment, and it appears as if Jasmina unknowingly causes conflict during this scene. Jasmina recalls how Michael's sisters told her how he views the worst in situations, and I think Jasmina may try to chase Michael away. Mark meets up with Lindsey and tells her the outcome of his peace talk efforts. We then get a showdown between Chris and Alyssa, and he accuses her of expecting the perfect person and being cut off from the process. Alyssa responds by painting herself to be the victim instead of being upfront and honest about her feelings. Alyssa ends the first night of the honeymoon by putting Chris in a place far beyond the friend zone. They might as well be enemies at this point. They sleep in separate rooms, and we can only hope for the best down the line. The episode ends with Olajuwon and Katina having a scene together, and they talk about the Lindsey situation as well as their future together. Now overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this episode a 4. The first 20 minutes of the episode was a complete filler. Alyssa spent most of her scenes being disingenuous and treating Chris like crap, and the other couples, aside from Noy and Steve, are slowly eroding before our eyes. I pretty much know how this season is going to end, but I shall continue on with these reviews because I'm a man of the people, and my viewers want me to review this foolishness. But this marks the end of the review. Please let me know what you thought about my review or the episode in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.